So, had another one of those nights where woke up like middle of the night, couldn't really sleep. Conversation was on my head. So it was a conversation, again, with my boy Elijah. And he was talking about how he's not like other boys. Like, he's different. Like, he likes girl things. Like, he can listen. He's good in class. So I was like, well, does that mean that boys aren't good in class and that boys don't listen? He was like, well, yeah. And I was like, we had to break it down. I was like, listen, man, that's not true. So he just broke down this we had this real cool conversation. But it made me realize that, man, that even from a young age, we get put in boxes. And, on this journey, especially over the last several years, I experiencing this experience from a male perspective. Like the whole conversation just started resonating in my mind. Like the first time I got this tattoo on my right arm, this Labyrinth. And I remember I got it when we found out that Elijah was going to be born. And I was like, wow, man, like I just felt like as a man in this lifetime, I was just sinking and settling into this labyrinth of life with these different choices and decisions that I'd have to make that may not be comfortable, but it was just for something bigger, whatever. So it was wild because I was like, man, this is interesting because maybe if we didn't break that conversation down with Elijah, he would have gone through life experiencing it from a certain box that boys or men do a certain thing, women do a certain thing, when in actuality, that's not true. And it made me realize, like, wow, this is a way for him to experience this life journey in a different way. I'm not saying it's a right or wrong way. It's just a different way. So when I looked at that, I was like, man, it's just like a labyrinth. And for those that aren't familiar with a labyrinth, it's like a maze. You can have multi-coursal labyrinths where there's a lot of different ways to get to the center, or you can have a unicoursal, which is just one way to get to the center. Most of the physical labyrinths you'll see are unicoursal, like there's one way to get to the center. But life is like this multi-coursal labyrinth. And from a male's perspective, it's just really interesting to see that. I just noticed that there's, as males in this experience, that we go through these things different, and we are supposed to act and be a certain way, which in actuality may be harming us more than doing us good. And that could be like an example of like, hey, how you feeling today? I'm good. And like inside, it may be like, I'm fucking crippled. It could be, what's up in it? It could be that, hey, listen, there's something going on and we don't express it. A lot of times for males, and my judgment, and this is not necessarily right or wrong, but my judgment, it just seems that, if we don't address the feelings that are bubbling up inside, or like, not even just feelings, but the emotions, thoughts, beliefs, we stay in this box, and then it becomes more harmful for us because we have to live by the expectations and the beliefs of that box, which may not be in alignment with who we truly are. So here, just, I don't want to be on this thing for too long because I want to see if I can get a little bit of sleep. But I got 3 guides or tips in navigating a man's journey. For the men out there. And this is just some things that I've experienced and some things that are helping me out that may help you out too. I don't know. But I figure I'd put this out here because it's just on my mind and resonating really at a high frequency. So the first guide to this would be understanding the boxes that you're in. Yes. Learn more about yourself. What are the boxes? What's good, Joel? What's happening, man? Learn about the boxes that you live in. For example, I'll give you an example. Like the boxes I live in is a box of a male, male heterosexual, black male, and this is where also an entrepreneur, healer box. So within these boxes, there are these beliefs, conditions that we've consciously and unconsciously aligned to. So this is what happens when we start to go into this almost downward spiral when we don't identify and resonate with what's really happening or who we have identified with. Then there's almost this mask. It's really more of a mask that we're wearing instead of really starting to tap into who we truly are. So first thing is to acknowledge that what are the boxes that we live in? Could be like, hey, I grew up in this area, that's a box. Hey, like I see things a certain way, that's a box. And it's not right or wrong, it's just awareness. The second one is step your emotional intelligence game up, like enhance your emotional intelligence. And this isn't, this could be interpreted out, get out and stay out of the box. Truth. Truth. Yeah, thanks, cuz. You too, cuz. Live in peace, for real. Enhance the emotional intelligence, man. And this is really looking at, hey, it's not about crying on some therapist's couch. It's about recognizing like what's really coming up for you and being able to say it. So for example, I gave you an example before of like, hey, how you doing? I'm good, or I'm all right. And that works for just like a casual conversation, but are you really? And it could go like this: hey, how you doing? Man, I'm struggling today, man. I feel like I just want to scream in the middle of the woods. All right, thanks for telling me the truth. And believe me, the person that gets to express that will probably really feel good about it because they're like, felt good to say that shit. So enhance and step your emotional intelligence game up. It's a big, big, big win. It's not easy, but it's really just tapping into what's really happening inside. Because really important to this is when we don't address what's happening inside, then what happens, it becomes like us shaking a highly carbonated beverage. Shaking a bottle, like all of a sudden we try to open it, blows up. And that's no bueno, man. And usually when I say blow up, it can result in sometimes violence on others. What's up, Chris? Violence on others. It can result in violence on self. It can result in arrogance. It can result in a lot of different things that may not be the intention of the person. So this is something that the emotional intelligence for men is a big win for us to address, because if we get to address that really results in us really being able to express ourselves in a way that's healthier amongst other men and also amongst women. So it's a win. That's just a suggestion on navigating the labyrinth. And the third is to get vulnerable. And I know when I heard vulnerable the first time, I was like, oh man, this is crazy. I just like whenever I hear the word, I feel like it's like I'm just leaving myself wide open, like, and really that's being open to attack or emotionally, physically. But in reality, when I started diving into it, like that vulnerability is discomfort for me. It's just being uncomfortable. It's being wide open. And the benefit for navigating this labyrinth, this man's journey of the labyrinth, is also looking at, okay, where can we get uncomfortable in life? Because it's going to take bravery and courage to move through that circumstance. So being vulnerable is really about being courageous. Stepping into a place where you feel uncomfortable. I'm like, hey, maybe it's having this uncomfortable conversation that, you don't know what's going to happen, but the conversation has to be had. Or maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's like, hey, I'm going to go for this dream, or I'm going to go for, taking on this hobby. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, and I'm uncomfortable as hell, but I'm going to do it anyway. What that does is that builds self-confidence, and it also helps us to tap into really what's happening inside. And again, listen to what I'm saying. It's all about what's happening inside. As males, in my judgment, we don't get this, it's like, yeah, true. As males, in my judgment, we don't get this education on how to navigate this life, because I sense that there's a lot of projection on men from a provider standpoint, a stability standpoint, a financial standpoint, that if men aren't doing a certain thing, or if they're not providing in a certain way, then they're less than. And again, this is just my experience and just like what I've seen, what I've heard, conversations. And it's really interesting because men don't even talk about it, especially, divorced men. I'm speaking from experience. Like, there's a lot of emotion that's going on that we don't address, and a lot of times it comes out as anger, which isn't helping the family unit. So listen, I'm going to wrap this up because there's a lot here, and I'm just processing this myself. So listen, just as you have any questions or anything like that, you can PM me. There's a weekend that there's a New Warrior weekend coming up in October, first weekend in October. I'll leave some information on it later on. There's an opportunity to address one, if not all three of these things in a way that you're supported. So if this video resonated with you, I highly recommend you check it out. For now, I'm out. And thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Bye.